Hello everyone, welcome to the sideboard here. I'm Glenn Jones at Grand Prix Miami, and this is Matt Costa. You're one of our first undefeated players at Grand Prix Miami. Congratulations.
Thank you.
9-0 start. Ain't done nothing yet, of course.
Feels good, but yeah, done nothing yet, definitely.
So you decided to play Blue, White, Red Flash, obviously an archetype you've had a fair bit of success with. You already have a Grand Prix top 8 with it.
Yep.
Not super recently, but definitely some strong showings. And I know that you prefer these tempoed kind of strategies that enable you to play a lot of instants, a lot of answers to your opponents. So beyond that just natural affinity for these strategies, what sold you on this particular flavor of Blue, White, Red Flash?
Well, I think the big difference between like across the list is basically like what win conditions you choose to play.
Sure. Yeah.
Thundermaw, Hellkite, Assemble the Legion, Aetherling, Jace, and I didn't want to play any of those. I think that all of the like expensive win conditions are just like really, really bad game 1 cards to have in your deck against all the aggro decks. So I decided to just rely on my Restoration Angels and my Snapcaster Mages and one Moorland Haunt, and hoped that that would be enough. And sometimes it's a struggle and the game 1s go longer than they might otherwise, but I thought it was really important to just minimize my dead cards in a lot of matchups.
Obviously it worked out pretty well for you. What about Boros Reckoner, a card that's often touted for its ability to close out games against those aggressive decks, and also the combo potential with Harvest Pyre. You're not running Reckoner, but did you give him some thought?
Yeah, Reckoner's a card I've gone back and forth on in this deck. I've played it and I haven't at different points. I've personally had a lot more success with this version. I know there's a lot of other good Blue, White, Red players, thinking of Jerry and Dave in particular, who love Reckoner, and it just, for whatever reason, I think that having it like really affects the way you have to build your mana base. It makes Island and Moorland Haunt pretty hard to play, and I just never felt like I had enough blue sources in my deck when I had to play that card, so I decided that, I wanted these blue sources, and that made Reckoner more of a 4-drop than a 3-drop, and at that point it was just a sorcery speed spell that I didn't want to deal with. Sure,
makes a reasonable amount of sense. You're also running the full amount of Think Twice as your cantrip. In the past, people have kind of liked Thought Scour for the synergy with Snapcaster Mage and the aforementioned Moorland Haunt, but you're not running any pikes or anything. So did you give thought to the Thought Scours, or was Think Twice just being able to get all your land drops in those control matchups too important?
Yeah, Think Twice is like awesome. I've played 3, I've played 2, and I'm playing 4 this week, and I would never go back.
All right.
I've played 26 lands, 4 Think Twice. You're a Revelation deck. You wanna
hit all those lands.
You wanna hit every land drop you can. And it's just so good against any deck where card advantage matters, like any control matchup or Jund or anything like that. It's just the best card in your deck.
Sure. Let's shift over to your sideboard, because it's pretty interesting, I think. You've obviously got a number of cards people are running relatively frequently, but the big 3 that stand out to me are the 3 Thundermaw Hellkite, it's a lot, 3 Renounce the Guilds, and 3 Dispel. Now, Renounce the Guilds, that seems like a metagame call as far as a piece of removal goes.
Yeah.
Are you expecting a lot of the Aristocrats?
Yeah, that's what it's there for. It's really good against Aristocrats. It's really good against Jund, dealing with Olivia and Sire of Insanity. It's just, it's a great tool against a lot of those decks, but again, it's not a card you can main deck because it doesn't do anything against Junk, and it doesn't do anything against the aggro decks for the most part. Sometimes you still bring it in because it's better than a counter spell, but it's not a card I'm happy to draw against, Naya humans.
When you're citing out a bad card for it, you don't mind it. When it's a bad card in your deck, now we've got some problems.
Yeah, definitely.
So what about these Thundermaw Hellkites and these Dispels? Obviously, Dispel, not that unusual. Fighting Sphinx's Revelation mirrors, Dispel's always been a trump card as a counter spell. But 3 Thundermaw Hellkites is a lot of boom boom.
Yeah, I'll start with those because the Dispels sort of come along with that.
Okay.
Thundermaw is just the plan against any mid-range deck, any control deck, and any like Lingering Souls Aristocrat style deck. I think it's a really important way to be able to close the game against these decks that actually have the ability to compete with your late game, especially when they're cutting all their dead cards, and so they're one of the advantages you get in the game 1s is you get to rev for a bunch, and they also have probably 2 dead cards in their hand, and that doesn't happen post-board. So you have to get more aggressive, and it's also really good at fighting planeswalkers.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. So normally people are transitioning into these maybe Memory Adept fights, or they're running Nefali Drownyard if they're Esper. This just lets you take the fight back onto the ground level and stay away from these long game situations where you're not really a favorite.
Yeah, I've built my deck really tuned to beat a lot of the aggressive decks, and I've sacrificed Edge in some other matchups, and this is how I'm trying to get it back. And Dispel is just really useful there, because when you're aggressive, the fact that it's 1 mana versus even a negate
Sure.
is like just having a cheap counterspell to protect your aggressive plan is really important.
Well, I would say it's clearly paid off with a 9-0 start.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Looking back on it, is there anything you might have changed? Because you got 6 more rounds to build some regrets.
This has been a real tuning process. I've been working on this deck for so long at this point. Every week I make my decisions, and I have a reason for them.
Sure.
The 4th Pillar of Flame in the sideboard, I could give or take. I'm not sure it's really necessary. I think it makes your good matchups better, and maybe in retrospect that should be another card against control or something. But it's just, other than that, there's a million different ways you can go with the sideboard. And I think the main deck is again, you basically have X amount of removal spells, and you don't always know what they are, but you're going to play 8 of them, and you just got to figure out which ones for which week.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Your control matchup seems to have been at least a little okay. You obviously took down Patrick Chapin in a battle of the undefeateds, handing him his first match loss, his first 2 games that he'd lost, I believe. I think he lost maybe 1 before that on the feature match camera, but yeah.
That was a good match.
You yourself, you told me before this interview, have only lost a single game.
Yep.
Well, that is even more impressive, I think, than the 9-0. If someone's 9-0 but they lost like 4 games, I'm really not that impressed.
9-0 is still pretty good no matter how you
9-0's
slice
working
it.
out all right. Well, Matt, thank you for joining me. Congratulations on a great start, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead and throw it back to the booth with Osman and Patrick, and they'll go ahead and show you that preview card.